Hello, and welcome to another Pierce County Library System cooking video. My name is Matthew. I normally work at the South Hill Library, and today I'm going to be walking through how I like to cook red beans and rice. So I'm going to run through the ingredients real quick, and then we will go ahead and get to the cooking. So you want to start with half a pound of dry red beans. You may notice in the pot here they're not dry. Don't worry, I will talk about that in just a minute. But you're going to start with half a pound of dry red beans. In addition to that, you're going to want 1 cup of chicken stock, which is optional. If you want it to be vegetarian, you can put in 1 cup of water instead. It will be just fine. We're also looking at 1 cup of dry rice, 6 ounces of tomato paste, 3 garlic cloves, 1 chili pepper. You're also going to want 2 tablespoons of olive oil, between 1/4 and 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm using 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt today. 1 teaspoon worth of oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of a general creole seasoning, and then 1/2 teaspoon also of cayenne pepper. Now that we have the ingredients run down, let's go ahead and get to the cooking. Okay, so when I was listing the ingredients, I mentioned 1/2 pound of dry red beans. You may notice looking here that these do not look dry, they look quite wet. The reason for that is one of the things you have to do to get ready for this recipe is you actually need to start soaking the beans, that 1/2 pound of dry beans, the night beforehand. And that's just to get them softened up so they're ready for being simmered a little later on. And so all I did last night was I put in my 1/2 pound of dry beans and I filled up the water until it was about 2 inches above the top of the beans. And I just left it in the refrigerator overnight covered. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to go take these and I'm going to strain them out in the sink. I'm going to give them a little rinse in the strainer, and then they will be ready for our next steps. Okay, so I've strained my beans out, and now we're going to go ahead and take those 3 garlic cloves and we're going to chop them up real quick. And you'll notice my garlic clove still has the skin on it. Obviously I don't want that. And so one trick, if you didn't know, to get rid of that skin is to just take your knife that you're going to be cutting the garlic with, put it flat on that clove, and just give it a strike with the base of your hand. Be careful not to cut yourself, of course. And it'll kind of crush the clove. You can see now that skin, it'll just flake off really easily. And it'll come off normally as one nice sort of continuous piece. For this dish, we're going to cut the garlic quite large. And once I do this to all 3 cloves, I'm going to go ahead and saute that garlic briefly on the stove in some olive oil, and just enough to start to brown the garlic a tiny amount, and then you want to stop. And then we'll take it off the stove and go to our next step. Okay, so I went ahead and stepped away and sauteed that garlic. And now we're ready to combine most of our ingredients. So you can see I have gone ahead and strained out the beans. If you feel them, they're still a little hard. That's alright because they're going to absorb quite a bit more moisture as they simmer along. And following that, we're going to go ahead and you can see my garlic, and I still have a little bit of olive oil in there. To my mind, it's fine to just go ahead and put the olive oil in. No need to strain it out from the garlic. That'll just add a little bit of richness to the flavor. 1 cup of chicken stock, 2 cups of water in addition, our 2 tablespoons of olive oil from earlier. We're going to go ahead and take that 6 ounces of tomato paste and get that in there. We're going to take our 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And after adding the salt, we're going to go ahead and add our chili pepper. I've chosen a fair-sized one. Normally, when you work with chili peppers, you try to remove the seeds because they're very hot. In this dish, if you don't want it to be as hot, you're still welcome to remove the seeds before you do this. I want it to be a little hotter, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut my chili pepper up with just some scissors. I'm going to leave those seeds in there. 1 teaspoon worth of oregano, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, half a teaspoon of paprika, and 1 teaspoon of general purpose creole seasoning. Okay, and once you have all of those things in there, go ahead and take a spatula, and we're just going to mix that in, especially make sure that that tomato paste gets nice and evenly distributed. Because the tomato paste, you really don't want to have any chunks left. There's not going to be that much to break it up once it's on the stove. Okay, and once we have all of our ingredients mixed together, basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this pot to the stove, and we're going to bring it to a boil. And once it starts to boil, we're going to reduce it to a simmer. So just crank that heat all the way down to its lowest setting, basically, on the stove. And then we're going to cover the top. We're going to leave it for 2.5 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and go do that, and I will visit back in once that 2.5 hours are up. And so this has been simmering for 2.5 hours now. So we're going to go ahead at this point and check on it and give it a stir. So part of the reason we check on this is just to make sure it's all right. The other reason is we're going to put it back on the stove to simmer for another half an hour. And at the same time, we're going to get some rice started. Okay, so we've checked in on our red beans, and they're looking quite good. So we're actually going to get that 1 cup of dried rice started now. So you're going to take 1 cup of just white rice, and go ahead and put that in your pot if you're doing it on the stovetop. In my house, I don't have a rice cooker, so I always cook rice on the stovetop. But we're going to take that 1 cup of white rice. We're also going to take 2 cups worth of water. I always like to cook rice at a ratio of 2 to 1. And we're going to go ahead and take just a splash of olive oil that we're going to put in there. And so we're going to put that on the stove and bring it to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer. And we're going to let that go for about half an hour. And then we're going to turn the heat off and let it steam for 10 minutes. And once that's done, you are able to take that rice out, put it in the serving bowl, and you'll be able to take your red beans and put it over top. Okay, and so you can see our final product here, our red beans and rice. Yes, I highly suggest eating this with some tortilla chips like I have here. And also it's perfectly fine to eat it just straight. All of those I think would be quite good. So I like to give some credit. I based the recipe I showed you today on a recipe I found on allrecipes.com for Louisiana red beans and rice. And so I took that, I modified it pretty heavily for basically my own preparation, but I just want to give credit that that's originally where I started working from. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this Pierce County Library System video program. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.